The air around Lake Marigold carries a strange quiet tonight, the kind that hums before a storm, heavy and expectant. Cynthia Harper stands at the edge of her marble-tiled patio, the glow of the lake reflecting off her silk-white dress. The mansion behind her gleams like a glass temple, massive windows, golden lights, and a long driveway curving through oak trees that whisper in the evening wind. It's supposed to be peaceful, but the faint thud of bass from across the water breaks that calm, pulsing through the night like a warning. She tightens her shawl around her shoulders. Across the lake, dozens of lights flicker near the shore, lanterns, bonfires, car headlights. Voices rise and fall, laughter echoing, bottles clinking. Cynthia narrows her eyes. That can't be, she murmurs, not tonight. Her phone buzzes. A notification pops up from the neighborhood app. HOA private event at Lake Front Pavilion hosted by Karen Miller. Cynthia's breath catches. The pavilion is her property. She built it herself last spring, right over the water, private dock, exclusive license, registered with the county. But the HOA had always claimed shared rights, a phrase she never trusted. And now they're throwing a full-blown party on her land. The laughter grows louder, echoing across the lake. Cars line up near the water's edge, headlights cutting through the mist. Cynthia can see them now, people unloading boxes, a massive speaker system blasting pop music. A banner flaps in the wind, barely visible in the dim light. HOA Summer Bash 100+ guests. Cynthia's jaw tightens. Not again. She whispers, remembering the last time the HOA crossed her line. First, they accidentally trimmed her private hedges. Then they tried to fine her for parking her boat at her own dock. And now, this, a party on her property without her permission. She grabs her phone, calls the HOA president, Karen Miller. The line rings once, twice, then connects. Karen, Cynthia says, her voice steady but sharp. A burst of music drowns her out. Then Karen's voice, slurred with laughter. Cynthia, you should come over. We're just having a little fun by the lake. Cynthia's tone hardens. By my lake, Karen, on my dock. You're trespassing. Oh, don't be dramatic. Karen laughs. It's community property. Everyone deserves to enjoy it. No, it's not. Cynthia replies coldly, you know that. The deed. Karen cuts her off. Oh, come on, Cynthia. Don't be that person. We're all neighbors here. The line goes dead. Cynthia stares at her phone, disbelief turning into fire. She walks inside, heels clicking against the marble floor, and grabs her keys. Her reflection catches in the tall mirror by the door, poised, furious, unshaken. You picked the wrong night, she mutters. Within minutes, her silver Tesla hums down the driveway, headlights slicing through the darkness. The road curves along the lake, shadows of trees gliding over the car's hood. As she nears the pavilion, the noise grows deafening, shouting, laughter, splashing. People are dancing on her dock, tossing drinks into the water, and one man is actually grilling on her wooden deck. Cynthia slows to a stop, steps out, and the crowd barely notices her at first. Then someone points. Hey, isn't that Cynthia Harper? Whispers spread like ripples. Karen Miller, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, stands near the bar, a sparkling dress and a plastic tiara catching the party lights. She turns, fake surprise on her face. Oh, Cynthia, you did come. She says loudly, you see, I told everyone you wouldn't mind. Cynthia steps closer, voice calm but cutting. You're trespassing, Karen. Everyone here is. You're standing on private property, and this dock, this entire area, is legally mine. Karen laughs, loud enough for everyone to hear. Oh, please. This lake belongs to the community. You just think you can buy it all because of your money. It's not about money, Cynthia says. It's about respect. and the law. The music quiets, people stop dancing, a few whisper, unsure which side to take. Karen smirks. Relax, Cynthia. It's just one night. You don't have to ruin everyone's fun. Cynthia folds her arms. You have 5 minutes to clear this dock. Karen raises her glass, or what? Cynthia's eyes darken, or the police will. Karen chuckles, sipping her drink. Oh, they won't come. They're friends of the HOA, remember. But Karen doesn't see the flash of blue light reflected in Cynthia's sunglasses. 2 sheriff cars pull up behind her Tesla, their sirens off but lights flickering. Officers step out, scanning the crowd. The sudden silence feels heavy. Cynthia doesn't move. She just says quietly, "Actually, Karen, they already did." Blue and red lights ripple across the lake's dark surface, painting streaks of color over the water. The music fades entirely now. Guests step back, murmuring nervously. Karen's confident smirk begins to crack as one of the officers, a tall black man with calm authority, approaches Cynthia first. "Evening, Ms. Harper," he says respectfully. "We received a call about unauthorized use of private property." Cynthia nods, her voice low but steady. "That's correct, Officer Daniels. These individuals are holding an event on my dock without permission. I have the deed right here if you need verification." Karen quickly steps forward, waving her arms dramatically. "Wait, this is a misunderstanding. This is HOA property. We're all homeowners here. The lakefront is shared." Officer Daniels turns to her, expression firm. "Ma'am, are you Karen Miller?" Karen hesitates, then straightens proudly. "Yes, I'm the HOA president." "Then you should already know that this particular section, Lot 17, South Dock, is registered under private ownership." He glances down at his tablet, reading from the digital property records. "And that owner is Ms. Cynthia Harper." The crowd begins to murmur. Cynthia remains silent, watching as realization spreads across faces that moments ago were full of laughter and champagne. Karen stammers. "Well, maybe the records are outdated. I mean, the HOA board approved this space for community events months ago." Officer Daniels raises an eyebrow. "Did you have written consent from the property owner?" Karen opens her mouth, then shuts it again. Her silence says enough. Another officer steps forward. "Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to end this event immediately. Everyone needs to vacate the premises." The tension thickens. Party guests glance at one another, unsure whether to leave or defend Karen. A few whisper apologies to Cynthia as they start packing up chairs and coolers. Others look away, embarrassed. Karen, refusing to back down, hisses under her breath. "You think this makes you look powerful, don't you? Calling the cops on your neighbors?" Cynthia meets her eyes. "No, Karen, I think it makes me look patient, because I could have pressed charges last time too." Karen's face flushes red. "Last time?" One of the guests asks. Cynthia turns her gaze to the crowd. "Last month, your president here tried to fine me for keeping my boat on my dock. She sent me 3 letters threatening removal. When I showed proof of ownership, she ignored it. And now, this party." Murmurs grow louder. Some of the HOA members step away from Karen, whispering quietly among themselves. Cynthia continues, her tone even. "This isn't about a lake or a dock. It's about entitlement, about a woman who thinks control equals community." Karen's voice trembles, trying to regain authority. "You're twisting everything. The HOA keeps this neighborhood safe and organized. Without rules, we'd have chaos." Cynthia's lips curl into a faint smile. Rules are meant to protect, not to bully. The crowd goes silent again. Officer Daniels nods slightly, as if agreeing. "Ma'am," he says to Karen, "if you and your guests don't leave now, we'll have to start issuing trespassing citations." Karen glares at him, but realizes she's lost. One by one, people begin to pack up. The music stops entirely, the generator goes silent, and the night air fills only with the sound of the wind rippling over the water. Cynthia steps aside as the crowd disperses. Plastic cups clatter, folding chairs creak, and embarrassed faces disappear into the shadows. When the last car drives off, Karen remains standing near the dock, arms crossed tightly, her tiara slightly tilted. Cynthia walks past her slowly. "You can keep pretending you're in charge," she says quietly, but the lake remembers who owns its reflection. Karen scoffs. "You really think this is over?" Cynthia pauses. "No, I think it's just begun." Karen storms off, heels clicking angrily against the wood, muttering something about lawyers and HOA rights. Cynthia exhales deeply once she's gone. The night finally exhales with her. The soft hum of crickets returns. The lake, once violated by noise, glows calm again under the moonlight. Officer Daniels approaches gently. "You handled that better than most would," he says. Cynthia smiles faintly. "You get used to standing up for yourself when people think you shouldn't." He nods, tipping his hat. "If they try this again, just give us a call. You've got every right to protect your property." "Thank you," she says sincerely. As the police cars roll away, Cynthia stands alone at the water's edge. Her reflection ripples over the still surface, composed but weary. She bends down, runs her fingers along the dock's wooden planks, and whispers to herself, "They won't stop. Not until I make them." A faint light flickers across the lake again, the tail lights of Karen's car fading into the trees. But Cynthia knows this is temporary. She's seen how the HOA works. They don't retreat, they regroup. And she won't let them win this time. The next morning, the sun glows gold through her window, pouring over white drapes and marble counters. Cynthia sits at her breakfast table, coffee in hand, scrolling through her phone. Her inbox is full angry HOA emails, formal notices, and even one titled "Violation Notice," unauthorized police activity. Her lips curl into disbelief. Unauthorized police activity? She says aloud. They really don't stop. She opens the email. It's from Karen. "Dear MS Harper, your recent interference in a community-sanctioned event has caused distress among residents. As per HOA Policy Section 4.2, property owners must cooperate with board activities conducted in the interest of community engagement. Please attend an emergency HOA meeting tomorrow. Discuss your conduct." Cynthia laughs bitterly. "My conduct?" She sets the phone down and takes a slow sip of coffee. Outside, the lake gleams like liquid silver, innocent, calm, like nothing happened. But Cynthia knows better. Beneath that calm lies the next wave. She spends the afternoon gathering paperwork, title deeds, photos, and correspondence proving the pavilion belongs to her. She even contacts her attorney, a sharp young woman named Serena Park, who promises to accompany her to the HOA meeting. By evening, Cynthia sits on her balcony watching the sunset. The air hums again, the same uneasy quiet as the night before. She watches ducks glide across the water, unaware of human pettiness. The calm makes her think of her late husband, Daniel. He used to say, "When people can't own your peace, they'll try to disturb it." She closes her eyes. "You were right again," she whispers. The next day comes faster than she expects. The HOA clubhouse, A sleek building with white columns and polished wood floors is already buzzing when she arrives. Expensive cars fill the parking lot. People cluster in small groups, whispering. Some look at her with curiosity, others with hostility. Karen stands near the entrance, clipboard in hand, her tiara replaced by thick, rimmed glasses that scream authority. When Cynthia enters, all conversation dips. Well, Karen says with a practiced smile, you decided to show up after all. Cynthia doesn't flinch, wouldn't miss it. Inside, the meeting room feels more like a courtroom. Long tables, microphones, a projector screen showing HOA bylaws. Karen stands at the podium. Let's begin, she says, gavel in hand. The first 20 minutes are a blur of speeches. Karen painting herself as the victim, claiming Cynthia created a public disturbance, that she intimidated residents and misused police resources. Cynthia listens quietly until Karen says, and her so-called private dock was built using community space funds. That's when Cynthia stands, her calm voice cuts through the noise. That's a lie. All heads turn. Karen falters, excuse me. Cynthia walks slowly toward the podium. Here's the invoice, she says, placing a folder on the table. Every cent came from my account. I have receipts, county permits, and the official land survey. You're welcome to verify it. The board members exchange uneasy glances. One of them, Mr. Lewis, leans forward. Karen, did you verify these claims before approving the event? Karen swallows hard. Well, I assumed. You assumed wrong. Cynthia interrupts gently. You didn't ask, because you didn't want to know. The room falls silent. Serena, Cynthia's lawyer, stands. For the record, she says clearly, if this board continues to harass my client, we will be filing for defamation and harassment under Property Code 231(6), and will be contacting the State Housing Department to review this HOA misuse of funds. The board murmurs. Karen's face turns pale. Cynthia steps closer. You've spent months trying to control me, Karen. Fines, threats, parties, now this meeting. You claim to protect the neighborhood, but what you really want is power. And the only thing you can't stand is a woman who doesn't bend to it. The room is silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Karen's hand trembles slightly as she sets the gavel down. This meeting is adjourned. She mutters. Cynthia doesn't look back as she walks out. The crowd parts for her, whispers trailing behind, but her stride stays calm, certain, and silent. Outside, the lake glistens beyond the clubhouse lawn, the same lake that started it all, serene, watching, patient. Cynthia breathes in the cool air and whispers, "You can't drown truth." She gets into her car, drives down the winding road toward home, and as the mansion reappears through the trees, sunlight hits the water just right, like the lake itself is nodding in quiet approval. Cynthia drives back through the winding road that cuts along the lake, the sun bleeding low over the trees. The meeting is over, but the heaviness lingers. She can still hear the faint buzz of whispers, the clicking of Karen's pen, the sharpness in those eyes that refuse to see reason. It's not victory she feels, just clarity. The kind that comes after you finally stop pretending peace exists where it never did. As her Tesla rolls to a stop in front of the mansion, Cynthia steps out and pauses. The lake is calm again, a mirror of pink and gold. Birds skim over the water, breaking the reflection for a moment before it reforms, still and patient. She looks at the dock empty, silent. For the first time in days, there's no laughter, no music, no trespassers. Inside, the house greets her with quiet. Every surface gleams, but the air feels colder now, less like home and more like a fortress. Cynthia drops her purse on the counter and glances at the envelope lying near the door. Another HOA notice. She doesn't even open it, not tonight. She pours herself a glass of wine and steps out onto the balcony overlooking the lake. The air smells of pine and wet soil. Somewhere across the water, she hears a faint engine, a boat moving slowly in the dark. She leans forward, frowning. No one's supposed to be out there after sunset. Her mind flicks back to Karen's words. You think this is over. The sound fades, replaced by the soft hum of cicadas. Cynthia exhales, reminding herself not to spiral into paranoia. Still, she double-checks the locks before heading upstairs. The next morning, she wakes early to the sound of a lawnmower. At first, it feels normal, just a neighbor tending his yard, but as she peers through the window, her breath catches. 3 men in orange vests are standing by her property line, cutting through the grass that borders her driveway. Behind them, a white HOA maintenance truck idles with the logo freshly painted across the side. Cynthia throws on her robe and rushes outside. "Excuse me," she calls, walking briskly toward them. The men stop, startled. Who authorized this? One of them, a tall man with a clipboard, clears his throat. "Ma'am, we're just following work orders from the HOA. Routine maintenance on my land." Cynthia snaps. "This isn't communal property. You're trespassing." The man hesitates, checking his sheet. Says here per Mrs. Miller, your property is under landscape compliance review. Cynthia's jaw tightens. Compliance review? My property is private, and no one has the right to touch it without my consent. Leave now. The man looks uneasy. "Ma'am, if we leave, we could lose our contract. You'll lose a lot more if you stay." Her tone cuts through the morning air like a blade. The men glance at one another, then silently pack up their tools. The truck rolls away. Cynthia stands by the driveway until the sound fades completely. Then she turns toward the mailbox and sees something that freezes her in place. A new sign, nailed right into the post, painted bright red. "Property under HOA review, do not alter landscape." Her hands shake with fury. She rips the sign out and throws it into the trash. Later that day, Cynthia drives into town. She meets Serena at the law office, a modern glass building overlooking the main square. Serena's already waiting with a folder in hand. They're escalating, Serena says, opening her laptop. "Karen filed a complaint with the county zoning board claiming your dock violates environmental codes." Cynthia stares at her. "That's absurd. Everything was approved by the state." She's fishing for loopholes. "Exactly," Serena nods. "She's hoping to get your property tied up in legal proceedings. If she can prove your structure disrupts lake flow, they can freeze your access." Cynthia rubs her temple. "She wants to drain my patience until I give up." "Then don't give her that satisfaction," Serena says calmly. "We'll fight this legally, but..." She pauses, hesitant. "I've seen HOA like this before. They're not just about rules, they're about control, and when someone resists, they make it personal." Cynthia nods slowly. "It already is." That night, she works late, reviewing old paperwork. Outside, the wind picks up. Branches scratch against the windows. The lights flicker once, twice, then stabilize. She exhales, tries to ignore the feeling of being watched. Then, bang, a loud crash echoes from outside. Cynthia jumps to her feet and rushes to the balcony. Down below, near the dock, something large floats in the water. She grabs a flashlight and hurries down the stairs, the beam cutting through darkness. When she reaches the shore, she stops dead. Her dock chairs, every single one of them, are gone. What floats in the water are the broken remains of her outdoor furniture, ripped apart and drifting like debris. Her voice trembles with fury. "Karen, The next morning, she calls Officer Daniels. He arrives an hour later, calm but concerned. "That's vandalism," he says, inspecting the scene. "You have cameras." Cynthia nods and leads him inside. They replay the footage together, rainy night vision, but clear enough to see three figures dragging the chairs off the dock. Two men, one woman. The woman's shape, even under a hoodie, is unmistakable. "Karen," Cynthia mutters. Daniels sighs. "I'll file a report, but unless we can confirm faces, it might not hold." Cynthia stares at the screen, anger simmering beneath her calm. "Then I'll confirm them." For the next week, Cynthia installs new security cameras, floodlights, and a motion sensor alarm near the dock. She upgrades her fence, not out of fear, but out of defiance. Each hammer strike feels like reclaiming a piece of her peace. But the HOA doesn't stop. A letter arrives, stamped with bold red ink. Notice of violation, unauthorized security installation. The letter accuses her of altering the visual uniformity of the neighborhood. Cynthia laughs bitterly, tossing it on the pile of similar notices. Her kitchen counter looks like a battlefield of envelopes. She doesn't even bother replying anymore. Instead, she documents everything: photos, dates, letters, timestamps. One afternoon, she spots Karen outside near the sidewalk, talking animatedly with two board members. Cynthia watches from her window as Karen gestures toward the house, shaking her head like a queen displeased with her kingdom. Cynthia opens the front door and steps outside. "Morning, Karen." Karen freezes for half a second, then plasters on her fake smile. "Oh, Cynthia, we were just doing a little neighborhood check-in from my property line," Cynthia says sharply. Karen tilts her head. "We're just ensuring compliance. You know, the security lights are rather bright. Some residents complained." "Good," Cynthia replies. "That means they work." Karen smirks. "You're making things harder than they need to be." Cynthia steps closer, her voice quiet but steady. "No, Karen, I'm making things fair." Karen's smile falters just slightly. "You'll regret defying the board." Cynthia folds her arms. "You'll regret underestimating me." The two women lock eyes, one wielding false power, the other unshakable truth. The tension crackles like static between them until Karen finally walks away, muttering under her breath. That night, Cynthia gets another email, anonymous this time. The subject line reads, "You don't belong here." She reads it twice, jaw tightening. Then she deletes it. Fear is exactly what they want. Days pass. The air grows colder, but inside Cynthia burns hotter, stronger. She starts documenting her entire ordeal. Recordings, screenshots, printed reports. She sends copies to Serena, who's already preparing a harassment case. Then, one evening, as the sky glows violet, her phone buzzes again. "It's Serena, Cynthia," she says quickly. "I just received notice from the county. Karen filed for a hearing. She's trying to prove the HOA has legal oversight over your dock." Cynthia laughs softly. "Good, then we'll settle this once and for all." When the day of the hearing comes, the courtroom feels colder than she expected. Karen sits at the plaintiff's table, surrounded by board members. Cynthia sits opposite with Serena, calm and composed. The judge, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, looks between them. "We're here to determine property authority over the south dock of Lake Marigold." Karen's lawyer begins, painting Cynthia as a disruptive resident who refuses to follow community rules. Cynthia listens silently, every lie like a stone tossed into still water. Then it's Serena's turn. Serena stands tall. "Your Honor, the HOA claim is invalid. We have the deed, the building permit, and environmental clearance, all under MS Harper's name." Furthermore, the HOA actions constitute harassment and property interference. The judge reviews the documents carefully. Karen fidgets, her facade cracking. When the judge finally speaks, her tone is firm. It appears the dock and surrounding area are legally owned by MS Harper. The HOA has no jurisdiction. Any further attempts to control or access this property will be considered trespassing. Karen's face drains of color. Cynthia exhales quietly, not triumphant, just free. Outside the courthouse, reporters wait, cameras flashing. Someone asks MS Harper, "How does it feel to win against your HOA?" Cynthia pauses, then says softly, "It's not about winning. It's about reminding people that power doesn't mean ownership." She drives home in silence. The lake welcomes her back with open arms, the water glinting like glass beneath the afternoon sun. When she steps out of her car, the air feels lighter. At the edge of the dock, she kneels and touches the wood. Her wood, the same one they tried to claim, to invade, to break, but it's still here, strong. Behind her, the wind whispers through the trees, carrying the faint echo of Karen's distant defeat. And Cynthia smiles, not because the battle is over, but because she finally understands something deeper. You can't fight small minds with rage, you fight them with patience, truth, and unshakable grace. The night hangs thick over the lake, the air damp with the echo of what just happened. Cynthia stands on the deck of her mansion, the faint glow from the dock lights reflecting in her eyes. The chaos has ended, but the silence that follows feels heavier than the shouting ever was. She looks out at the still water, once disturbed by anger, now calm, as if it knows justice has finally found its place. Behind her, officers move quietly through the lawn, escorting the HOA members away one by one. Their faces are pale, drained of arrogance. The same people who stormed her property hours ago now walk with lowered heads, avoiding her gaze. Every step they take feels like the unraveling of the illusion of power they once held. The county sheriff, if the same one they'd tried to call for backup earlier, now approaches Cynthia, his hat in his hands. "Ma'am," he says quietly, "I want to personally apologize for what you went through tonight." "I had no idea," Cynthia interrupts gently. "You had no idea they'd target me because they thought I didn't belong here," she says, her tone calm but sharp enough to cut through the night air. But that's how it always starts, doesn't it? With someone deciding who belongs and who doesn't. The sheriff lowers his eyes. "You're right," he admits, "and tonight I saw that ugly truth up close." Cynthia doesn't reply immediately. She turns her gaze back to the water, her reflection shimmering in the faint ripples. "This lake was my dream," she says softly, "a place for peace. They turned it into a battlefield just because I didn't fit their picture of who should own it." A quiet breeze brushes past them, carrying the faint scent of pine and rain. Somewhere in the distance, a siren fades into silence. The sheriff nods slowly. "Justice will be served," he says, his voice steady now. "They're trespassing, property damage, assault, they'll face all of it." Cynthia smiles faintly, not out of satisfaction, but relief. "Justice isn't about revenge," she says. "It's about balance." Maybe tonight that balance started to return. A black SUV pulls up near the driveway, its headlights slicing through the fog. A tall man steps out, Raymond, her attorney. His face is stern, his suit still crisp despite the late hour. He walks over, glancing at the departing HOA members before turning to Cynthia. "You handled yourself better than most people would have," he says, his voice low. "The footage from your cameras is solid. They won't be able to twist this story like they always do." Cynthia lets out a slow breath. "They'll try," she says, They always do, but this time the truth is louder. Raymond nods. I'll make sure the world hears it. For a moment, they stand in silence, two figures on the edge of a story that had tried to erase her, now rewriting its ending. The water laps gently against the shore, rhythmic, like the slow heartbeat of peace returning. Hours later, as dawn creeps over the horizon, Cynthia sits by the window with a cup of tea in her hands. The first light of morning paints the lake in gold. Birds begin to stir, the world quietly rebuilding itself after the storm. Her mansion, once invaded, now stands tall again, not just as a home, but as a statement. Her phone buzzes, a message from Raymond. Media's got the story. You're trending nationwide. Black woman defends her lake mansion against HOA invasion and wins. Cynthia exhales a long, steady breath. She doesn't smile this time. Instead, she feels a quiet strength settle in her chest. Let them see what resilience looks like. She whispers. Moments later, she steps outside. The air smells new, washed clean by the rain. Workers arrive to repair the damage, the broken gates, the trampled garden. But Cynthia doesn't see destruction anymore. She sees renewal. Across the road, a few of her neighbors watch from behind curtains, faces filled with a mix of shame and curiosity. One of them, an elderly white woman, steps forward hesitantly, clutching a small tray of muffins. Mrs. Hill, she calls softly. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have spoken up when I saw what they were doing. Cynthia looks at her, surprised by the sincerity in her voice. Thank you, she replies. It's not about sides. It's about standing for what's right. The woman nods, tears welling up. I see that now. As Cynthia accepts the tray, a faint smile touches her lips. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a start. Later that day, news vans line the street, their cameras capturing the house that had become a symbol overnight. Reporters stand by the gates, narrating the story to millions watching across the country. What began as a neighborhood dispute, one says, has turned into a conversation about prejudice, power, and the courage to stand your ground. Inside, Cynthia sits with Raymond, reviewing documents. Civil suits are coming, he says, and from the looks of it, you're about to own the very association that tried to destroy you. Cynthia chuckles softly. Poetic justice, she says, but I'd rather see change than control. Raymond looks at her, admiring her composure. Then let's make that happen. We'll restructure the HOA, new leadership, new policies, no more discrimination hidden behind rules. Cynthia nods. Let the lake finally belong to everyone who respects it. By evening, the sky turns a soft orange. Children from nearby houses ride their bikes past her driveway, waving shyly. Their parents watch, perhaps realizing the example their kids just witnessed, a lesson that decency and courage still matter. Cynthia stands by the water once more, the sun setting behind her. The surface glows like molten gold, calm and endless. She closes her eyes and lets the wind move through her hair. In that quiet, she remembers every word shouted at her, every threat, every sneer. But she also remembers the moment she chose not to break. That choice, not anger, not revenge, became her power. The HOA invasion was supposed to humiliate her. Instead, it exposed them. And now, standing on the same deck where it all began, Cynthia feels no bitterness, only peace. Her voice, steady and sure, breaks the silence. They came to take my home, she says, almost to herself, but what they really gave me was a reason to fight for something bigger. As night descends again, the mansion glows softly against the lake. Not as a fortress, but as a beacon, proof that dignity, when tested, can light even the darkest waters. And somewhere out there, as the story spreads, other voices begin to rise, people who have faced the same kind of injustice, now finding courage in Cynthia's stand. Because sometimes it only takes one calm, unshaken voice to remind the world that true power isn't in control. It's in the grace to hold your ground when everything around you tries to push you down.
If you liked this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with others so they can learn something from it too.